What is up, Shredders? Today, I wanted to do my top 5 favorite guitarists of all time. It was very, very hard for me to get the top 5 because there's so many inspiring guitarists, so many great musicians out there that have inspired me over the years that just boiling them down to a top 5 was very, very hard. So it really has been me deciding who the most inspiring guitarists are for me personally that have concentrated themselves into the top 5 for over the last millions of years since I've been starting to play guitar. So I want to do my top 5. I want to give special props to Guthrie Govan because he almost made it. He was like, he's number 6, but he just got bought out. He got pushed out by Shawn Lane, who is number 5. Shawn Lane, number 5. That guy is one of the great, next to Guthrie Govan, he is like one of the greatest naturally gifted musicians I've ever heard in my life. And when I say naturally, I mean his ears are just amazingly sensitive to what he's playing. His sense of melody, his sense of timing, everything is just so spot on. On top of that, he has just the most brilliant, amazing technique possible, and his playing is very legato, and I'm a huge sucker for legato playing, as you will see in this list, and it's just so fluid and tasteful. His guitar playing is very shred heavy, and a lot of people say shred is very soulless, and yeah, I can get that to a certain extent. If you hear just 16th notes going over and over for long periods of time, you can get really numb to it. But when it comes to Shawn Lane, him playing so ridiculously fast is very tasteful. To me, it sounds like waves of notes just washing over you when you hear him play. Check out his stuff when he was really into Indian music, and he is oh my god, he is so inspiring. Like, he is one of the best guitarists I've ever seen in my entire life. If I were to if this list was not the best, if this list was not the most the musicians that inspired me the most, and it was like the best of the best, he might possibly be number 1. But for just pure inspiration, he is so amazingly good. He is number 5 for me. Amazing player. I love everything he's played on. He is so amazingly good. And he seems like a very sweet-hearted guy. If you watch any of his interviews, and he's very respectable, and he has really neat opinions on gear. Especially, he's the guy who got me into hybrid type of gear where it's a 2 preamp into a solid state amp, and he used that for years. That's why I got the Natty TD1. It's a spiritual successor of what Shawn Lane was using back in the day pedal wise, and it sounds fantastic. And Shawn Lane, oh my god, he is a monster at guitar. Watch the dude, he is so good. Okay, number 4. Number 4 has to be John Petrucci. John Petrucci, oh my god. Like, I liked prog music before I listened to Dream Theater, but when I first heard Dream Theater, it was like chocolate and peanut butter coming together into a nice Reese's cup, and you eat Reese's for the first time, and you're like, oh my god, where have I been my entire life? And that's what Dream Theater was for me. It was like Metallica meets Steve Vai, and then they smashed into each other and just created this the most beautiful music, the most intelligent and just enjoyable and interesting music I've ever listened to in my entire life. And every time I listen to Dream Theater, I'm just like amazed at what they do, and it really makes things fun to listen to, because you get bored of hearing the same thing over and over again, four times. Like, I get that trying to cram in these different musical elements can get boring. Oh, I don't know. It can get too out there for most people, but for musicians, I think they appreciate these out there crazy musical concepts that Dream Theater drew in. And the thing I like about Dream Theater is they had a nice, for most of their songs, they were very concentrated, very structured, but they do the outside crazy things that really make it unexpected. And John Petrucci is an amazing songwriter as well as an amazing guitarist. And every time I watch that guy play, or even just in an interview, I'm just in awe. I'm like, this dude is the coolest guy in the world. And he is a huge inspiration to me. I really love John Petrucci playing. Really love Dream Theater. They are amazing, amazing influence on me. Okay, number three. Number three has to be Joe Satriani. I love Joe Satriani. Him and Steve Vai always go together for me. The thing I like about Joe Satriani is that he's a working man. He's always putting out albums. Like, it's almost like every year, if not every 2 years, he's putting out an album. The dude just works. He puts in the time and he does things, and he's very grounded about it as well. He's very cool and just humble. That's one thing I really like about it. On top of that is he knows how to shift his personas as well. Like, he's not that humble guy on stage. He goes out of his way to put on a show, and he really focuses on his skills as well as to push himself with every single album he's doing. He's trying to always do something unique and interesting on guitar. And on top of that, his sense of melody, his sense of writing music is so on point. It's so easy to remember back when you listen to a Satriani song. You're like, oh yeah, that melody was really there. On top of that, he has really small points in his playing, very micro points where he plays songs that just really stick with you, like where he does a lot of blues phrasing. He does a lot of like these really small, intricate things on guitar that only guitarists would really be into. Stuff really, stuff so minute and simple that are fun to listen to, that if you show any normie Joe Satriani's song and be like, this is my favorite part, they'd be like, what? But to me, it's so amazingly good. And Joe Satriani, huge influence on me. I love everything he does. Everything he's touched has been gold for me, more or less. Okay, number two guitarist, Steve Vai. I love Steve Vai. His guitar playing is just so out there and weird and unique. Nobody has sounded like Steve Vai since Steve Vai came. Like, he created his own style. The dude is just out there and unique, and he is just the coolest individual on the planet. Not only is his guitar playing and his musicianship like top tier, he's just philosophically inspiring as well. Everything he says about life is just so on point, and because of that, as well as his immense talent with music, he's just inspired me so much, maybe so much more than all of the other guitarists on this list. Steve Vai, if I never listened to Steve Vai, I probably would, I don't know if I'd be here today, to be honest. The dude is so, freaking good at he raises the bar for musicians as well as for just human beings in general. It just makes you want to be a better person. The guy is so high vibrational that his attitude is just infectious, and you want to be more and more like Steve Vai because the dude seems to have everything going on for him, and he's just a massive inspiration for me, and I love everything the dude does, everything Steve Vai does. Great influence, immense influence in the guitar community. I cannot say enough about Steve Vai. And then number one is Eddie Van Halen, and it'll always be Eddie Van Halen. And Eddie Van the thing I like about Eddie Van Halen is that he's just so out there and creative. He was, next to Jimi Hendrix, he revolutionized the guitar into what it sounds like today. There have been, I would say him and Jimi Hendrix were the macro revolutionaries of guitar. Right now, we're still, the evolution of guitar is still going on, especially with stuff like math rock. But it's more, to me, it sounds more like a micro revolution. It sounds really good. I will not dismiss that. But the big revolutions for guitar were Jimi Hendrix as well as Eddie Van Halen, possibly Chuck Berry, I don't know. But Eddie Van Halen, what can I say about him? I just love his down-to-earth, almost blue-collar attitude towards the guitar, where it's very DIY, very self-made. He just created his own style. He created his own guitar. He even created his own tone, which people are still chasing to this day. The 5150, the Brown sound. Nobody sounded like Eddie Van Halen. The guy was like Shawn Lane. He was extremely naturally talented, and then when you add the technique on top of that, there was just nowhere to go but up. And Eddie Van Halen just he inspired an entire generation of guitarists. If you look into hair metal, it's basically completely inspired by Van Halen. I know a lot of people don't like hair metal, but Van Halen was what most of those bands aspired to be, but you can never really replace the original because it had so much charm. And Eddie Van Halen was a once-in-a-lifetime guitarist. You're not going to hear, you're going to be lucky to hear another guitarist that ridiculously revolutionary in your lifetime. There are people that are up there nowadays, but I don't know if they can surpass it. Guitar's evolution has been so, it's starting to become smaller and smaller in terms of the changes, and that's not a bad thing. But back in the day, Eddie Van Halen completely changed the game, and it was so ridiculously amazing. But those were my top 5 guitarists of all time. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite top guitarists are, and I will get back to you because I love the interaction. Thank you so much for watching.